Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today the video is going to be dedicated to, I would say, a type that I'm quite familiar with because for some reason surrounding me I have met quite a couple of ISFPs who have been quite prominent and has allowed me to experience them in very interesting ways. And so today, this is going to be a brutal truth advice. This video is dedicated to each MBTI type, this series, where I deep dive into how your cognitive function, how it looks, and this is the reason why you struggle, and some of the ways that you can overcome your common struggles as your MBTI type. Okay, so ISFP, a quick summary of who they are. I'm sure for those of you who are watching this video, you're probably ISFP, but let's talk about the cognitive function. The reason why I talk so much about cognitive function because MBTI is so commercialized nowadays that people only focus on the singular function as the letter suggests, extrovert, introvert, sensing, intuition, which not to say that it doesn't mean anything, but if you really want to know the use and the goal of MBTI or Jungian is really looking at the cognitive function. So ISFPs, you have introverted feeling as your hero function, and then you have extroverted sensing as your parent function, that's your second function. You are mostly in your FI, introverted feeling. Sometimes you will be responsible or you would use your second function to support your first function, which is why I think there's a lot of stereotypes out there about ISFPs, the nickname artists, because these are the people who are very much into things that are more creative. They turn out to be singers, musicians, artists. Pretty much what the nickname suggests, they are very much inclined to the creative world. They are typically those that you wouldn't see in a very corporate kind of environment doing like finance or like something that's very stereotypical, that is 9 to 5 and that is not of a creative work. They probably will end up being in marketing or creating content or something just slightly unconventional than your regular like data analyst. ISFPs, they are highly creative. And then of course they have their third function, which is introverted intuition. So this is their willpower, what they want. And because it's a 10-year-old or a child function, third function, which could also mean that the kind of things that they want could be quite naive or innocent in a more positive light. But these are one of those people that if they really want something, they are not going to let anyone stop them to get it, even though it looks immature. So it's in that sense, it's like a 10-year-old wanting something that is innocent, that is fired up, that is fully passionate. And then of course, their inferior function is extroverted thinking. So extroverted thinking is essentially effectiveness. So whether or not it works in the outside world, is it efficient, is it effective, does it work? So that is their inferior function. Doesn't mean that this is all of their weakness. Of course, those ISFPs who have overcome their inferior function, they go into their subconscious, which is ENTJ, which is known as one of the most stereotypically, apart from ESTJ, successful types. The types that actually becomes multi-millionaire, billionaire, that actually has an empire of wealth and all the status and reputation. Yeah, anyways, it's not about that today. What are you struggling with and how are you going to fix it? ISFPs, before you start pausing or cancelling this video, I know that a lot of times you really hate hearing the truth because FI is, I don't feel good, I don't like where this is going, it's not my vibe, I'm not going to let this vibe ruin me. I think that is what would cause you to fail most of the time because of your vibe. I'm sorry, I have not even started out the first reason. I'm already ranting about ISFPs, but I can say that I also know a lot of ISFPs who have made it out there and reached their potential and really do great things with their abilities. And so this is not a video bashing ISFPs, but this is a video to wake up the ISFPs who really needs to hear this in order to overcome being stuck. So let's do things a little bit differently. In my other videos of the MBTI, I kind of talk about the signs at a later part of the videos, but this is worth for you to watch if you are ISFP that are currently struggling with. You always procrastinate until your mood feels right. Then you will do something. So you end up not just daydreaming, but you're just like distracting yourself with things that are unimportant, taking your mind off that thing that you actually have to do, so that you're like, you know what, I think when my mood is right later, I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to wait for that mood to come. So I think this is one wake-up call for all ISFPs, that your mood is the killer of all your dreams and vision. So there's no point of keeping up with your FI if your NI is really much like a child. So if you want to achieve the things that you want, you have to realize that sometimes when you allow your NI child, that third function, to take over all your other functions, that is when you become very irresponsible and you procrastinate with things that you want, and then you start becoming resentful about why you don't achieve things, and you start comparing yourself with people around you. Another sign that you are stuck as an ISFP, you actually feel guilty when you're unproductive. And then you totally shut down. You just MIA and just disappear from the world because everything comes crumbling on you. And that's when you feel like, okay, along with your mood not feeling right, and then you already feel not productive, that is essentially being in the grip where your extroverted thinking has taken over you, telling you that, hey, you know what? You are not very successful right now, and everybody thinks not really highly of you. People don't think that you are working things out, and that's when you actually shut off completely from the world. What is happening to this person? I think there are a lot of MBTIs who have this like door slam, shut down moments where they withdraw. But I guess for ISFPs, it probably happens more often than not. It's because when they don't balance out using their cognitive function, especially the 1, 2, 3, 4 in their ego stack, right, properly, they're not aware that, oh, I'm overusing my FI, or I'm overusing or I'm underusing my NI or TE, and they just singularly use that one function over and over again, right? That's when they cause themselves to have burnout. They don't feel fully integrated. And that is how shutdown actually happens. One thing about ISFPs, as much as they are they want things, they also are very much afraid of commitment. Like anything that is long term, whereas, I need to be committed, disciplined, and be patient in the long run for this, the chances of them saying yes is going to be very low, because for ISFPs, they know very well that their mood dictates their decision and whether or not they will persevere with something. And often anything that is structured, that has a lot of like rules and protocols, they just see it as rigid. And obviously for artists, for someone that is highly creative, they need to be in the flow, being fluid. They will see all this structure as like a barrier of like, why are things so serious and rigid? And that's when the vibe doesn't go with them. So these are just some signs. If you are familiar with some of these signs, then I highly suggest that you listen through the whole video, because I'm going to break down for you the 3 reasons why you're actually struggling, and just some practical ways that you could consider. Probably it's just a reframing of mindset that is going to help you to get yourself unstuck. Reason number 1, you are avoiding structure, but it's costing you freedom. Repeat, you are avoiding structure, but it's costing you freedom. So it means to say that the more you actually try to be wild and free and not be part of any structure or scheduling or to-do list, the more you will find yourself in situation where it's like a vicious cycle. You will find yourself in situation where you're like, oh, now everything is getting too much. I'm getting burnt out. I couldn't handle all the tasks because I don't organize things anyways. I don't stick to the plan. I don't have specific schedule that is sorted out on things that I have to do or must clear before a certain time of the day. It piles up and then you shut down. So as much as you value flexibility, freedom and flow, know that you creating your own structure is going to allow you to keep the flow going. It's a flow of energy or water stream, right? If there's no structure guiding where the flow should be, it would be flowing everywhere, or eventually it will stop flowing because there is no path or no structure ahead that is allowing it to be continuous. So ISFPs, I'm sure you will all agree with me that you want to feel right most of the time. We value you for your FI hero because you are very much in touch with your values, what you feel is authentic for you to do. A lot of people nowadays, they are doing things for the sake of doing it and they're no longer authentic with it. And in the age of AI, even more than your authenticity will be valued. However, you would lose your authenticity if you don't have structure to keep your flow going. So when you have no structure, no basic to-do list, no form of, let's pick up atomic habits on how to stick to a certain habit and make sure that I get things done. This is you actually growing and developing your inferior function, extroverted thinking. Extroverted thinking is all about the modalities, the structure, the methodologies, the things that's been proven to work. Is helping you to be effective and efficient. Is to essentially help you to get the result. I know that it sounds very, for a creative person, it sounds very like it's just one of those corporate things. I don't want to be part of that system. Just get over it. There's a reason why those things exist. There's a reason why you hate those things, and even more the reason that you need to go and explore and find your own structure. It's not a matter of following everything to a T, but having a plan is better than having no plan. Having somewhat of a structure is better than not having structure at all. Just realize when you are in moments of, ooh, my FI is taking over, when you are always trying to find yourself to be in the right mood to do something, that's when you know that you're neglecting your inferior function, which is TE, extroverted thinking. So in MBTI, in this whole cognitive function that we talk so much about, we all know that the more you ignore your inferior function, which is essentially your 3-year-old, it will come at you at the time that you're not ready. Put yourself in situation, practice mindfulness, reflection, and ask yourself, in this situation, yes, my FI mood is very much important, but am I doing it too much? Is it time for me to bring extroverted thinking back and discipline myself and commit myself, fulfill promises that I made to myself so that I actually feel credible and respected? I respect myself so that I don't worry about whether people think of me highly or not. So this is another thing that ISF, that they deep down inside is like, as much as you guys are really amazing people to be with and you are so inspirational with some of the visions and your ideas and the things that you have, you do care about what people think of you, but at the same time, you are not doing things to support that. All in all, when you avoid your TE, your beautiful inner vision, whether it's your NI, what you want, or your FI, about how you feel, what is authentic to you, will never make it into the real world. So embrace TE. How can you fix this? I have a gentle framework. I think Atomic Habits is one of the books that I gave to an ISFP, and I believe it has helped the person quite a fair bit in terms of finding efficient ways to cultivate new habits, stack their habits. Of course, having more willpower and discipline to stick through things and having more commitment, that person has not only progress in the things that they have done, but also their blood, sweat, and tears are not wasted because the discipline itself has helped the person to become more resilient and, of course, more result oriented. You can also try creative routines. It doesn't have to be routines that you hear from people around you and then you're like, oh, that's not me. Find the one that is you. It's still a routine, a structure. For example, morning rituals, there's so many different kinds that you can find on YouTube that would resonate with you. Just because you hear somebody saying that they have to do journaling and then the idea of writing down your thoughts bore you, there's so many different kinds of journaling and even morning practices that could essentially help you. It could just be taking a walk in the park, being in the nature, doing breath work that has a certain rhythmic pattern to it. It can be creative like that. And you know those apps right now, like Insight Timer is the one that I use. Not that I'm affiliated or anything, but because I've been using it for a few years. You can actually follow teachers, gurus in there that resonates with you, that are a bit more creative. I can imagine being bored with something that you have to do over and over again. It's the same to the point that you're doing it for the sake of doing it and then you're not really like fully into it. But you could join challenges, mindful challenges on a monthly basis. They have different programs. At least you know that, oh, maybe this month itself I'm just going to be focusing on breath work and then the next month is going to be something else. So it keeps your FISE kind of satiated in that sense. Okay, now reason number 2. You are silently suffering because you are not speaking up. Truth to be told, all ISFPs do not like conflict. They need the peace. They are essentially one of the most introverted types, although they are one of the, I would say, if you warm up to them, you will actually see the very fun side of them. But I would say that majority of ISFPs, they live in their own world, very different from INFPs. INFPs is in their bubble, but ISFPs, they have selected few of those people who are part of their isolated world. It's just that, here's the brutal truth, right? As much as they have this close circle of friends with them, they let things slide. Meaning to say, even though it's somebody that they care about, it's their good friend, it's a family member, because they themselves don't like to use that mental energy because it's all about the vibe, right? They don't like that negative vibe. They don't want to argue with someone. They don't want to be part of the conflict. So they tend to brush it off. Like, they'll get angry at the person, they maybe talk shit about the person, but after that they're like, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna let it be. And then little do they know that it balls up over time, right? We are human beings. It happens to every MBTI type. It doesn't matter what type you are. It's just that for the feeling type particularly, they probably feel it a bit more. ISFPs have FE nemesis. They do worry about how others feel about them, and therefore avoiding conflict as a whole is pretty natural defense system for them. But the thing is, they can have this side of them where it's like covert contract. This is something that I learned from C.S. Joseph, that because ISFPs, their shadow is ESFJ. So ESFJ is known to be one of the most nurturing, sacrificial types, that really social justice warrior. They take care of everyone, everybody needs to harmonize, everybody needs to behave appropriately. It's a very extroverted feeling thing. And because they have this shadow, they will actually see if you remember it and you would actually do it. And so this is like a covert contract, whereas I bought coffee for you, you're supposed to buy coffee for me, kind of thing. So it's that kind of unspoken expectation that they have of people around them. And let's say somebody doesn't behave the way that they want, or maybe said something to have hurt them, and they don't want to cause conflict, they will just swallow it until it becomes so bad that it kind of ruins their relationship, essentially. So just know that ISFP, because you are FI dominant, your vibe, what is authentic to you. You may know how you feel, but FI person generally, they don't really express how they truly feel because they always have this mentality that nobody understands them. It's very different from extroverted feeling FE. FI is very much, I call it pretty selfish feeling. It's like a protected feeling that the person knows how it feels, but they may not necessarily know how to communicate it. They have the mentality that people don't understand it, therefore they don't talk about it. But without the communication, this is when misunderstanding happen. When things are not okay and then you say it's okay just to brush it off, and then your behavior show otherwise, it's giving that passive aggressive behavior that when people feel ambivalent towards you, that is when it's going to affect your likability, your influence, and also your connection with them. One thing about FI dominant people is, let's say they're in a room and then there is another person that is feeling extremely upset. They do internalize the mood of the other person. So apart from being paralyzed by their own feelings, they also can get paralyzed by other people's feelings in that sense. And so them shutting down, them pulling away is a very natural thing. But this is bad for people who cares about them, and especially when they don't communicate instantly about what's going on. So this also goes back to extroverted thinking inferior, right? When you are dominantly FI, sometimes because you try to go out of your way, you try to avoid conflict so much to the point that, let's say you're fighting for a promotion or a salary or a thing that you really deserve, and because you have inferior extroverted thinking, you probably wouldn't be daring enough or courageous enough to speak about what you deserve and what you want. Even when you're put in a situation where it's very unfair, you actually need a lot of willpower and mental energy to talk about how you feel and what you want. So I think one thing to give your FI space, but at the same time make sure people around you understand what's going on with you, because this is how you keep connection, is to probably just admit and say, I'm sorry, I really don't feel really good right now. I just need some time on my own to process my feelings. That's you essentially being very authentic about how you feel at the moment. It could be that your feeling is so overwhelming that it's consuming you, that having some space and letting people know that you need that space is just going to, at least you show yourself that you are responsible for other people's feeling as well. You don't let them worry so much about you or speculate or make assumption about you, which is going to help you in return. So just know that peace isn't the absence of conflict. It is actually the presence of honesty. Reason number 3 why you are struggling, ISFPs. You confuse inspiration with direction. Why is this happening? Because you have active sensing SE second function parent. This gives you a deep awareness of the present moment, like what is going on right now. So especially among those types, let's say you're in a room full of the types that are thinkers, they are future thinkers, or SI, which is memory based. For SE user, ISTP, ISFP, ESFP, these types, right, they very much get this advantage of they know what's happening in the real time, when most of those other types who are not SE high up in their cognitive function would have. And so sometimes having this SE drive, like looking for that sensation, that spark of inspiration. Okay, I'll give you an example. If you go shopping with the ISFPs, right, although they know conceptually what works for them as a creative type, they essentially know what kind of looks suits them and what kind of aesthetic they're going for. But because if they're unaware of how their SE is at play, it can be used in a positive way or a negative way. So if they're highly in touch with their extroverted sensing, sometimes they're just using their extroverted sensing and coupled with FI, so it becomes this loop, or even worse, FI and NI, and then what they want that could be immature. They are very much like, when they go shopping, it's impulse, like a lot of sensation, impulse, and then when they zoom into the extroverted sensing, because it's all about the present moment, they are so engrossed and engaged with what they're seeing to the point that they would actually go for that thing while losing the whole purpose of, for example, they have a budget or they have a theme in mind. They have a really particular thing that they're supposed to shop for, but they get distracted. So going back to why this is a struggle for ISFPs, as much as this is their creative function, I must say, I think the hard truth that they need to hear is ISFPs wait for inspiration to give them the direction. And that's why they keep wondering. So it goes back to that mood thing, right? This is not my mood, this is not my vibe, it's the FI thing. And then it's coupled with extroverted sensing, and they don't consider all their other function, right? Especially their inferior function, extroverted thinking. They will go into this mode of, I don't know what am I going to pursue, I don't have a purpose yet, I'm just going to wait for inspiration. And then they think that the inspiration is actually the direction for all things. Because they follow beauty, they follow the vibe, they're very much into aesthetic, they follow the heart. At some point, it's just trying to look for the inspiration and nothing is showing up. Is this the way to go? This is the disconnect between who you could be and what you're actually doing. And this actually hurts. At the end of the day, meaning is found. At the end of the day, meaning isn't found, it is created. You need to create your purpose. It's not about finding your purpose. So what are some specific signs of this showing up apart from the shopping example that I just gave? You jump from job to job, project to project. You just keep switching because it's, I'm in this thing for a while and then things don't get well, and then you're just like, let's go for the other one because I need to look for the inspiration and that's my direction. You're not going to be in a job that's going to inspire you every day. If you're one of those people, you're really lucky because that's very rare. And a lot of times, there's a lot of failure before success comes in. There's a reason why dopamine exists, right? It's the sense of reward, because before you have the thing, you have to go through the suffering of not having the thing or going through the tough part of not having the thing. And so if you're constantly at a place where you're looking for inspiration, motivation, and that is when you will never find your purpose, you will never create your purpose. Another sign is you always feel unfulfilled, even if life seems peaceful around you. And the third sign, I would say, recognize this in yourself. You romanticize a version of yourself, but then again, you haven't built anything that is close to it yet. So essentially, the advice I'm trying to tell all the ISFPs is do not wait for that feeling to be ready. Don't wait for the, I'm not ready yet, I don't think it's my time yet, I need more time. No, just go for it. Just choose a path that aligns with your values and then stick through it. Don't look for inspiration. Just know that it's a direction that is going to keep you staying on track. And remember, don't neglect your inferior function, extroverted thinking, because that is how you're going to overcome your struggles. Maybe before you start something that is really long term or something that scares you, that is really big, ask yourself, okay, I'm going to start this new exercise. Can I stick to this for at least 6 months or at least 3 months? At least 3 to 6 months, can you stick and fully commit to it? That is how eventually you're going to create your purpose, because it is through the tough times, through the moments when you want to give up, and then you continue to fight for it. That's when your purpose is going to show up. So just to conclude, before this video gets too long, which it already is, guys, I hope that you would like and share and support my videos, because this would help me to keep going, to spare my time, to continue to push out videos that I really not just study on a daily basis about MBTI personality types, but because I've really dedicated a lot of my time working with people, coaching people on the side who are particular types and helping them with self-development, transformation, and this is really what fulfills me, and you liking, sharing it is really going to help me a lot. Anyways guys, so this is the closing. The struggle isn't failure. It is just misalignment. You are not behind and you are not invisible. You are basically just learning how your inner world that is so rich needs to match with the outer world. How can you bring your inner world to the outer world by embracing your extroverted thinking inferior function? without losing your soul and who you are in the whole process. So add soft structure to your flow, soft structure. Speak truth to protect your peace, and choose direction to bring values to your life. Really, at the end of the day, I tell all the ISFPs, you really don't need to change who you are. You just need to trust yourself enough to begin and just keep going. Anyways guys, if you're ISFP and this hits home, please let me know in the comment section. This keeps the engagement and my videos is going to go out there, and hopefully you share this with other ISFPs, or if you're ISFP, you could share this with the loved ones, and hopefully this is going to help them to understand you better. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.